Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Grand Scale Motivation Show. I'm excited to be hosting you this Sunday, and I hope you've had a good Sunday so far. Most definitely, your Sunday is about to get much, much better if you stay along with us, because today I've got a great brother of mine here, an educator, a community builder, an active citizen that I've invited to the Grand Scale Motivation Show, and I know that you're going to have a great time. We met in Boone, North Carolina, at the Appalachian State University, and the man I'm about to introduce to you was the lecturer for the leadership module that we did. And those who were on that fellowship, especially those who were at Appalachian State University in 2019, will let you and will tell you that this man has something very, very special. And here's the good thing. The great thing is that this man also is going to be one of the speakers at the Grand Scale the Grand Scale Motivation Success Symposium that will be taking place from the 26th to the 28th of March. So we just thought it would be great for you to get a good teaser. It would be great for you to, first of all, for him to start talking to you about leading from your strengths, and then you can get to know him. But without wasting much of your time, let me welcome, and please welcome with the drum roll and with comments on the comment section if you're there, Mr. Doug Baer.
Thank you, man. I want to bring you with me everywhere, Uno. You're great. You're great at this. It's a hype man. I'm just gonna keep you with me. I want to record that little section and just bring my hype man with me everywhere I go.
I know I'm good, right? But that's because I'm introducing a profile of a man that's really easy to introduce, because you've done quite a lot, and yeah, we've come a long way, man.
We have. We did meet a year and a half ago or so, I guess, right? Maybe almost 2 years ago now. Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
Quarantine, huh?
Yeah. If you are there, and I know there's quite a number of you that are joining now that are on this show, I would love for you to just put in on the comment section whatever it is that you're thinking or what you want to ask Doug. But Doug, let's start on an introductory note and get to know you a little bit better. Who is Doug? Where were you born? How did you grow up? And how did we end up here, Doug? Please let us know who you are.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was born, because that's pretty far back. But I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. So in the United States, in St. Louis, Missouri, kind of an outskirts of St. Louis, and really how I got to be where I was, especially where you and I met. Oh, you still there? It looks like you froze up. Okay, there you are. How you and I met is, so I've always had a passion for teaching, right? I've always enjoyed the teaching aspect of helping others, but I wasn't really fond of teaching in the traditional senses. I didn't want to teach math or science, or for me, I was a vocal major, so I didn't want to teach music even necessarily. I enjoyed doing it myself, but I didn't always like teaching those hard skills. But instead, I really like teaching life skills, and I, just being kind to one another and showing people different aspects of their own lives that really resonate with them and help them get to a better place for themselves. So that could be, anything from, hey, here's how you do your laundry for people that don't know how, or here's how you just life skills, easy stuff, to, hey, here's how you make a friend. Here's how you get along with your roommate. So for many years, I went to college and I was an RA in college, or head, I think you guys call them head students.
Yeah.
So I did that for a number of years, and then I graduated from my master's degree, and I ended up going into higher education, and I used to be in charge of the entire building, right? So I had hundreds of students that used to live in my building, and I would be in charge of all the RAs. And from that, I took that, and a few years after I did that for maybe I don't know, eight years or so. 6 to 8 years. And then I ended up going into, I transitioned for myself, and I actually became the director of a leadership office at Frostburg State University up in Maryland. And so
Right.
which was phenomenal. It was such an amazing experience for me. And so I got to learn more about leadership every day, and I got to listen to all these really amazing students and their stories and what kind of connected them to the larger scale. And we actually came up with an advertising campaign for the university. It was one university, and they kept saying one university, a world of experiences. And it really was true. And that message resonated with me at the time, because it was all about, we are one person, you are one person, but you have so many experiences that you provide to others that we end up being a one world, right? So whether that's, just one student in their class shares those experiences that they have, and another student can reflect on that, and they can kind of build off that. And so it really was this one university, a world of experiences, over and over again. And one of the things I had the privilege of doing was I actually ended up going to Uganda. And I stayed in Uganda for about a month. Every single year, I would take a group of students to Uganda, and we would do service, but really it wasn't about the service, it was us learning. So all my Ugandan friends would always say, thank you for bringing all these students. Thank you for helping in our community. And I would say, stop thanking us. We should be thanking you, because the experiences that my students got were 10 times better than what, the little bit of work we did or whatever like that, because it was all about creating those experiences and helping people shift their mindset and view life in a different way. So from there, we ended up doing, I did the Uganda trip for almost 10 years. I think we did it for 7 years. And I would spend a month in Uganda with different college students every single year. And it was just amazing. And during that time, I was still the director of leadership. And so I was still learning about leadership, and I was still helping to teach leadership. And I had taught many classes about leadership. And I came to just realize that, well, one, leadership, everyone has the potential to be a leader. There's not a single person out there that can't be a leader. But here I'll throw you a quote. Actually, it was a quote I was going to say later on, but here's a quote from Albert Einstein, right?
Right.
And it's, everybody is a genius. Everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Right? So we don't want to teach people how to live like I live, and judging people the way off of my characteristics. But I want people to look at their own life and be the best that they can be for themselves, because that will in turn end up being better for the world. So that was kind of my journey and through leadership. And I ended up getting a job at Appalachian State for a year. And I had, again, the very good fortune for myself to work with some amazing African leaders, such as yourself and all my friends from the program, which was just another eye-opening experience for me. And I got to be tapped into this thing they called strengths-based leadership, right? And it was strengths. The Gallup organization, which is, if you know anything, let's see, I think I described it to you in class, was Gallup is probably the #1 leader in surveys. They do surveys about everything. They do political surveys. They do surveys on what color's the best in your opinion. They do surveys on everything. They just love to survey. And so they got really good at surveying. And one of the people that was working with Gallup, or they created it, is they created a survey about who you are and what strengths people have. And so this concept kind of came out of, the Clifton, Don Clifton, I think is his name. He started saying, we'll stop. We don't want people to look at the weaknesses they have, because innately, people always look at, well, I need to get better in this, and I need to get better in that. And it's really not about that. He said, instead, if we operate from this idea of strength, we operate from this idea of do what you're good at, and you'll become even better at it. That's where we start to really define who we are and create magic, for the group. And again, for me, it's always been, again, I know I've tangented way off, but for me, this idea of, I like helping people, but I like helping groups. And the best way for me to help a group oftentimes is helping individuals get to where they want to be, because in the whole, they'll end up making the group better, right?
Hmm.
So I really found that to be true, and I got the opportunity to meet with you and all the students, all the adults in your cohort, and really working with making them the best versions of themselves. And Uno,
Hmm.
you are probably the best prime example of that. And obviously everybody in the group is a great example of that themselves, but you did such a great job of really capturing what you do well and expanding upon that. And I think that that's phenomenal. And that's really what I'm looking for. So me, in a nutshell, I'm just a catalyst, I think. I just like to help people create themselves the best way that they can.
Absolutely fantastic, man.
That was probably
And
the longest
I'm
answer
so
ever.
glad that we met. And it's good to hear about your history, where you were born. I didn't know you were from St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
Man, that's so I'm a member of JCI, and that's where the JCI head office is. So since I joined, I think I've been a member for like 15, 20 years. No, maybe 50, yeah, 15 years. Before I went there in 2020. So throughout that time, I always used to hear about St. Louis, Missouri. And it was in 2020 was my first time visiting that place. So you grew up in a very nice place. Um, and and it's so great that you then got hooked onto education, and we as the Mandela Washington Fellows got to meet with you, and now we are here together. So Doug, I love some of the things that you've already said, and we're just going to zone into
Let's do it.
some of them and speak to those specifics that you have just said. But before that, maybe a little bit more about you also.
Mm-hmm.
What was the light bulb moment, if there was one, that drove you into education? I mean, we're talking about strengths and everything. You into becoming the educator that you are. What drove you into that?
You know, I don't know if there was one light bulb or many light bulbs, but I think every time I had an interaction with a student where they just weren't getting it, right, they just weren't understanding how to fit in with their peers, or they weren't understanding what they contributed to either the mess or the greatness that was before them. And so I just had a lot of different opportunities, especially being an RA, that I found myself not trying to be. I didn't necessarily even need to be the focus of any attention or anything like that. Some of my best programs, because as an RA or as a head student, you have to do these programs. My best programs were when I asked my residents to create. The sky's the limit, and they just get to create. And so it was really, really cool. I had one program, for example, there that I had some girls that really like to be creative and make scrapbooks, right? So they're cutting out pictures and they're scrapbooking. I know nothing of scrapbooking. I don't do scrapbooking. It's not my thing. I know nothing about it, but I allowed them to have that opportunity. And I put up posters all over the building and said, hey, if anyone wants to learn how to scrapbook, please come. Hey, I'll buy you some pages for scrapbooking. Please come. And it was one of the most successful programs in the entire building. And I had nothing to do with it, but I got credit for it because it was my students that did it. But all I did was I just asked my students, I said, well, what makes you happy? What motivates you? And these girls were like, hey, we just want to scrapbook all day. We love being crafty and artsy. I said, that's awesome. So we filtered that and we did something with their energy, and it was beautiful. So it was times like that where I got to say, okay, why was I successful? Well, the reason I was successful is because these other people were successful. So it wasn't me being successful. It was actually all these other people that were around me and with me. And it was really my team that was successful. So I've really just gravitated towards, I've been a team player my whole life, and I will continue to be a team player. I just love the team dynamics because I'm not good at everything. Matter of fact, I'm probably good at very few things. But what I am good at, I'm very good at, and I try to focus on those things. And I know that you, Uno, for example, you're very good at other things that complement me. And now if you and I work together, we're twice as good as we were individually. And if I can get 5, 6, 7 people together, and we're all working towards something, we all have that motivation and that idea that we are good at what we are good at, together we will be phenomenal. We'll be unstoppable. So that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, and I don't want to transition way off topic, but I actually just transitioned this past year into a new career field. So I'm no longer teaching students, but I'm actually helping homeowners buy homes and sell homes. I'm working as a real estate agent as well. And so one of the things that I really love about that, though, is that opportunity to create, helping people find their forever home that they didn't have access to, is a really amazing feeling, right? I just love helping people. So it's all about whatever I can do to help people get to where they want to be. I had a dinner with a friend last night, and her husband invited my wife and I over, and it was so much fun because to see their faces. They had lived in a really small house, and they were happy people. They were lovely people, but they knew that they had outgrown their environment. They had animals, they had kids, they had all these things, and they had outgrown their environment. And so, but they didn't think that they could ever achieve something greater. Right? They didn't ever think that they could live in a big house, or that they would ever find the community that they were looking for. And helping them, we ended up buying a house together, and I helped them buy a house, and it was like magic. They've lived there now for 3 months, and I could still see the glow on their faces. Every morning they wake up and they say, wow, how am I living in this? I never thought I was possible. And that's just the house part of it. But also when I work with them and say, yeah, you are totally worth it. You deserve to have good things in your life. And then they start to see it, right? And it's the same thing, whether we're buying houses or we're helping people with their own strengths within them. You deserve to have good things in your life. And so the strengths part of it kind of comes out of when you're doing good for others and you're focused on what makes you stronger, what makes you good, you will do 10 times better.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
I hear you there. And so I get that you are all about helping people get better, helping people discover who they are. And that's what turns you on. That's what makes your life, and that's amazing, because that's exactly what we need on this show. Now, let's get into talking about the topic of the day, leading from your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important for one to lead from their strengths, from their position of strength or from strength? And maybe you can go down a little bit into describing what strengths are, and then come down to why it is important for us to lead from our strengths. Yeah,
sure. So let's redefine the term strength, right? Let's talk about just the talents within you. Instead of saying your strengths, let's say your talents. Okay. Why is it important to lead from your talents? What are you uniquely good at that no one else is good at? Or maybe other people are good at, but not in the same way you are. And so when you have a talent towards something, you tend to, well, let me ask you this. Uno, what's something you have a talent towards? What's something you enjoy doing or that you do well?
I think speaking is one of the things that I enjoy the most.
I love it. I love it. Uno is a great speaker. Hopefully my comment section, you all agree. Uno likes to speak. He's good at it. Well, and I kind of gave away the answer already.
Can I just take this bit of what you've said right now, take the recording, put it somewhere, and start promoting myself because of what you just said?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I heard you speak. You are very good. You are very good at speaking. The passion that comes in you, the fire that comes in you. But here's my question, Uno, and I gave away the answer already. When you are speaking, do you enjoy it?
Of course I do.
Of course you do, right? You do. You love speaking. So that's a talent you have. That speaking ability is a talent you have and is unique to you. You are very good at it, and you have your own style and way of doing it. But when you are speaking, I can see the life in you. I can see the energy swell up in you. So now when we're talking about leadership, doesn't it make sense that you do something that you enjoy doing? Doesn't it make sense that you're doing the talents that God gave you or that you have within you to do that more full time? Oftentimes, absolutely. And oftentimes in our world today, we are always told, oh, you're not good at this. You need to work harder at this. You need to get better at something. But instead, I say flip it. Do it the opposite. If you're spending 80% of your time working on 20% of your skills because you're just not good at those, at the end of the day, you're only going to be marginally better. But if I say spend 80% of your time working on the things that you are so good at, that you are already talented in, you're going to be exponentially better. So it's really about figuring out what you are good at and what you enjoy doing and making those better, as opposed to continuing to work on that thing you're not good at. Math is an easy one. A lot of people have really struggled with math. And when I say, you know what, every day I want you to do 15 math problems. I want you to do this and do that. Some people, they just hate it so much that it's just not fun for them, and they end up quitting, or they end up just not doing it very often. And even if they do become good at it, it's marginally better. But if they're a brilliant writer, and I say every day spend 20 minutes writing, by the end of a month or a year, they're going to have a novel that is just brilliant. Something that you and I could never make because they're good at writing, right? So it's really all about developing and creating those strengths within you, and pushing those out to the rest of your being, of who you are. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't always experiment, because I'm a big believer in pushing your boundaries. And so you should experiment and try new things and see if you like something different. See if you want to tweak something and do it a little bit different ways, and then you'll get even better at it. And if you end up liking it, incorporate it into what you're doing.
Yeah. So you are saying that your area of improvement, or your area of greater growth, comes when you focus on the things that you are already good at, more than you would when you focus on the things that you are not exactly great at. So
it's like you've been through my class before, It's like you know what I'm going to say. Excellent.
So okay, let's dig a little deeper into that. I'm enjoying this thing that I am doing, and you're telling me I should continue doing it. And that is where my biggest growth still is going to come in. So I'm like going back into this thing. What about this argument that you've pointed it out, right? The argument that if I look at things that I'm not extremely good at, but I could get better at, and they are difficult and whatever, and I try and improve them so that I can become this better person. You are saying here that I am kind of investing in an area that's not likely to give me much growth.
Correct. So I don't want you to have no skills in something, but instead take those areas that you don't enjoy, that you're not good at, and you need to become competent in them, right? Do them satisfactorily, right? Once you get to that satisfactory level that you are okay at them, you don't need to do it anymore. You don't need to focus on them. You don't need to become an expert writer if you're a better mathematician, right? So, but instead, take all that time you would have spent, those thousands of hours that you would have spent working on something to make it marginally better, and take that and spend 1,000 hours speaking. What would happen to you, Uno, if you spent 1,000 hours writing and creating speeches and speaking in front of public? What would happen? It would be phenomenal. The world would be a better place. Do you not agree?
I agree 100%. Okay, this is getting exciting. Now, I've kind of discovered that strength. So someone here has said, I've discovered the strength that I have. Maybe my strength is in writing, or my strength is in numbers, my strength is in, socializing, or my strength is really in relationships with people. How do I start? First of all, how do I really zone into what that strength is, first of all, and to describe it to myself, and then how do I start investing in it?
Sure. There's a million different tools out there, right? I've heard of everything. Let's see, I wrote some of them down. We've got Myers-Briggs. You've heard of Myers-Briggs, right?
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs. I've done one called True Colors. There's the Enneagrams. There's all these different tools out there. There's Strengths Quest with Gallup. All of these different tools, and I think they're all great. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I'm not going to say that they're all the best thing ever. I think you need to develop them. And the more important part is you need to create a common language with those around you that you're using them with. So whether that's a team, classmates, whether that's your work environment, whatever it is, help each other to get stronger in those areas by developing that common language. So if everyone's taking Strengths Quest, right? If everyone's doing the Gallup Strengths Finder 2.0 or whatever it's called right now, everyone is getting better at it, and you're able to hear, oh, Doug, you're a maximizer. You are really good at doing these things. Why don't you do more of that, right? And I can say, oh, well, here, I'll give you an example just with strengths. Uno, here's my test question for you. Do you remember your strengths?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Tell me one of them.
Arranger.
Perfect. I love arrangers. So tell me how it is that you use your arranging skills.
So maybe let's talk about the symposium that's coming at the end of the month.
Look, this is perfect. It's like we should have planned this.
It's like in my mind, coming up with such a plan for people to benefit from in 3 different sectors, from 3 different from all over the world, and bringing that together kind of gives me joy, and I feel like it helps me to. I like the complexity of it. I enjoy it, but it comes easily to me.
So let's break it down a little bit first, and we talk about what is arranger. What does arranger mean? And I'll let you describe it since you are an arranger.
My friend, I would love to do that, but let me give you my layman's, thinking around arrangers. Arrangers like to get to organize things. They want to, and it might seem too complex, whatever they are arranging, but they put things together. They have a mind of, if I take this and I take that and I put it there, it's likely to come out fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that fascinates them. I think that's the best explanation I could give to that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So arrangers are oftentimes, you think of those as your wedding planners, or in your case, a conference planner, right? You're taking abstract, all these different things. Well, we got to order the flowers. We got to make sure we have speakers going. We got to make sure we have, the tables are set. And this is, we have to get a venue to start with. You're thinking of all the different things that need to be done, and you're putting them in the right order. Uno, are you going to order the tables before you order the venue?
No, the venue first, I think.
Of course, the venue first. So for you've got a list of all these things happening, and in your mind, you already know, okay, I got to order the venue, and then 2 weeks later, I'll order the tables, and then 2 weeks after that, I'm going to order the table, the places, and the decorations are going to go on the tables, and then, well, before that, I got to order and all these things are kind of going on in your mind. You got a set of all the stuff that needs to happen. I'm an arranger as well, but my arranger is very different than your arranger, right? So for me, my arranger is not always about things and getting stuff put together into a conference setting. My arranger works with people. I really enjoy finding the talents in others and bringing them onto my team, so that way I can arrange them in certain ways to, okay, so Uno, you're going to be our public speaker, so I need you to do this. And actually, Uno, you're also going to be my arranger, so you're going to set up the conference. And then I have, who else is on here? Diane? Is it Diane or Diane?
Yeah, Diane.
Diane, well, what are you going to be? What are you good at? What are your strengths? Okay, and now after I find out her strengths, I can see what she can do and how she can make those better. And now she's going to be the person who, does, I don't know what her strengths are, but once we figure that out, we can incorporate it onto our team. So that's what I'm good at. That's how my arranger works out. You and I just happen to both have arranger in common. So that worked out really well too. But I think that no matter what, and for this example, we were using StrengthsFinder, right? So for this example, we have a common language. You and I both know what we're talking about because we both have taken strengths through Gallup. We could have done the same thing if you and I were talking true colors, and I was saying, oh, well, I'm a blue, and you're like, I'm an orange. What does that mean? And how do we fit together? Those are those easy ways, right?
Okay. So maybe, so that we could, our audience can follow. So what you're saying, first of all, is that you need to be able to associate yourself with people and be able to develop a common language. But the basic thing here also is to be able to go and take a test. I don't know what to call them. Are they called just personality tests, or they are strengths tests? Let's just call them that. And you've discovered, you've described a number of them that are great options for people to look at. It kind of helps to find out the way you think and behave, and where your best strengths are in that area. I just wanted to bring that back so that all our audience can be able to follow that. So thank you for the explanation that you did. But I see you wanted to say something. Right?
Well, one, I wanted to answer Diane. Yes, absolutely. If you are good at organizing, then you are probably an arranger. But again, you can take these tests like the Strengths Finder. You can take, and I want to say it's like $15 US dollars, I think, to order the test and have it done. But really, the key is being reflective, right? So you got to figure out whatever the tool is to figure out, to be reflective about yourself, to see what you like. What I like about the Strengths Finder is, what was it, maybe a 25-minute test or so, and it was all on a computer, and it forced you, you had 5 seconds or so, or 10 seconds to answer every question, and it forced you to make a decision. And what I really liked about that test is it took two seemingly not related things at all. So it wasn't like apples versus oranges. It was like apples versus train sets. And you're like, wait, what? Things that doesn't make sense, and you had to choose which one is better for you. And it's not apples and train sets. It's like, do you like public speaking, or do you like, and it chose something completely random, like, do you like banking? And you're like, what? How does that make sense? But it's because, well, it's not about finding either or. It's about finding what, after this entire test is done, it kind of gravitates you towards, here are the 5 things that came out the most. Here are the things that came out of you more than anything else. So that's what I really like. So that, again, the whole concept is that you're trying to do some sort of self-reflective thought process to figure out what it is you're good at. It could be simpler. Diane's saying, hey, I'm a good organizer, and I know I'm good at organizing things. She's already done some self-reflecting on that, and she knows that that's something that she's good at.
So these things really help that self-reflection process to be faster, because some people have put so much research on it, and you just want to make sure that you don't spend a lot of time doing it. So now that I have found out, so I am Diane, I have found out that I am a great organizer. Investment in that great organizing, how do I then begin to start multiplying that, Doug?
Yeah, I think it's, well, here's what they say. In order to have a strength, right? The key word is strength, and that's what we're trying to get to. It's taking your talents and talents plus time on task equals strength. So the more you're operating within your areas of talent, the more you're building that to be one of your strengths. So again, instead of spending your time on things that you're not that great at, if Diane is good at organizing and Diane is good at research, she should do more of it. More time researching, more time organizing things. The more she does it, the more she's going to fine tune it and make it even better for herself, because she's probably already a better organizer and a better researcher than I might be. So therefore, the more she does it, she's going to go from A to A+, right? Versus me, I might go from a D to a C, like it might be okay, but in the end, would you still rather, it's going to be very small improvement, and you'd still rather have Diane doing those things versus me, because she's already talented in those areas.
I like that time and time on task. So I'm in a situation where
that's not time, that should be talent plus time on task.
Okay, so talent plus time on task. Okay.
Yep.
So what if I'm in a situation, Doug, where I've got a job, I've got a family. I got this question actually last week when I was doing my launch for the website, and it was, I know this strength, and I want to invest in it, and I want to put more time on it. I want to make sure that I invest in it. But here's the problem. I've got a job that I'm stuck at, but it's a well-paying job that makes me feed my family and provide and become the man that I need to be for the family that I have. How can I find this time to be able to invest in this gift that I would have? What do you say to that?
So my answer is honestly just be creative, right? Figure out ways to incorporate the two together. And what will likely end up happening is your boss will end up being more happy with you doing this other part of your life, being truly who you are. So you have a talent for speaking, yet I know you have you also have some talents for numbers, and you're doing math, and your job I think is accounting, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So is it possible that you can work the numbers on the back end and then ask your supervisor, ask your boss if you can present those, if you can present your findings, if you can take those numbers and maybe go to a client's, one of your clients, and actually do a whole presentation around the numbers that you've been doing and you've been finding, and giving credit to the company, right? So now you're working out your ways to have an amazing career, but you're starting to develop the areas that you enjoy. That would be my first way. Frio, good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, Frio, welcome, man. Welcome, Mr. Francisco, Super Dad, and welcome, Chichi. I see you there. Yeah. So you're saying that I can find ways of incorporating that into what I already am doing and figure out how that can be done, so that people may notice that maybe people just thought I was great at numbers and they didn't know that I was great at presenting. But if I start showing more of the presentation of the work that I do, maybe they might give me more opportunities in that area. Is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, absolutely. And people transform all the time. People are transforming from, presidents of universities. Oftentimes they don't start as presidents, right? That's never in the cards. They don't like, oh, I'm going to be a president of a university. Nobody thinks that. But instead they become maybe a faculty member, and they're really good at their core subject, but then they find that they have a talent for raising money, or that they have a talent for leading the entire university, or they have a talent for something else, and they start getting on committees, and they start doing those other things in other ways while they're still maintaining their career. And then all of a sudden people start looking at them and saying, hey, you have this talent and you're really good at this. And here's another key. I learned this from a friend of mine. His name is Jeff Fagan, and I don't know if I'm allowed to give him a shout out or not, but he was the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport CEO. He was in charge of thousands of employees, and because it's one of the largest international airports in the United States, at least. And here he is, and he said he's not the smartest guy in the room, but instead he finds talent and he surrounds himself by it. So if you're a smart CEO, you don't do everything yourself. Instead, you find the talents of others and you rise them up to the level that they can be talented in. They can have more talent within it. And here he becomes a CEO of a giant metropolis of an airport. And it's because he's humble enough to know where he needs help, and he surrounds himself by excellence. What he said was he surrounds himself by people that are smarter than him. My last thing I was going to say about that is I often call this Zed Leadership, right? So it's actually, he is not a Zed leader. He's an alpha leader, right? He's someone who takes people that are better than him and lifts them up higher, because the more he does that, the better he becomes. So, but Zed leadership is your beta leaders, right? The B's. Well, when you're a beta leader, you always want to be the best person in the room. And so in order for me to be the best leader, I need to surround myself with people that are not as good as me, so I can look better. And when they end up doing that, they end up pushing the other people down, and then they end up hiring C leaders. And those C leaders end up hiring D leaders, all the way down the alphabet until you get to the Z, right? Until you get to Zed Leadership, and now your whole company is built upon people that are not that good at their jobs. They only want to push other people down, and they don't actually produce very much. I love the idea of being an alpha leader and being someone who's going to raise others up.
I like where you're going with this, because now we're not saying that your strengths are just good for yourself. They're good for your leadership, and they're good for you building an organization or a team that's going to work better for you. Can you dig a little bit into that, and how knowing your strengths can enable you to become a better team leader, or to become a better, or to grow bigger and better performing teams?
Yeah, I think the easiest explanation really is, I think they call it string, right? If you have one piece of string, it snaps really easily. But if you have multiple pieces of string all wound together, it becomes a braid. And once it's braided, it doesn't break. You can't just pull it apart easily. So by creating people that have buy into your organization or buy into your cause, and helping them to really fulfill what they're strong in, you're reinforcing your entire group. Again, I love this topic because for me, it's all about creating teamwork. I don't think that one person can do it alone. I think one person can be a catalyst. I think I showed you in your class, one of my favorite videos is what is it? How to start a movement. I think it's on YouTube. It's called How to Start a Movement. So you can literally just type that in, how to start a movement. And they talk about this guy gets up and he starts terrible dancing in front of this giant crowd. And he's just making a fool out of himself dancing. And they say that that's not a movement yet. But what happens is the second guy gets up and the second person starts terrible dancing with him. And now these two people are just terrible dancing together. And all of a sudden that created a movement. There's so much energy behind that because they're both being authentic with who they are. They're both valuing their own strengths. The second person just said, wow, I like what that first guy's doing. And then the two of them together created the movement. And all of a sudden within 60 seconds, I think the video is only like 60 seconds long, there are thousands of people terrible dancing together. And it's just because they created a movement of something that's fun and exciting. Michael remembers the video. See, Michael's a good student. But yeah, so and I think that that's what we need to do is we always need to work on our own talents and then support one another. I love teamwork. I don't think people can do it alone, at least not to the best of their own abilities, because you need to have others to complement you. My wife and I, when we took strengths, we are almost exact opposites. We have similar beliefs. We have similar, values in life. But when it comes to our strengths, what she is good at is the opposite for me. I think her number 34 is my number 1, and my number 34 is her number 1. It is just weird how it worked out that way, but it makes us a good team.
Yeah, that's a perfect. And I see she's here.
She is.
April, a shout out to you. Good to see you on the show, and happy to see that you agreed and supported Doug to come through and be with us today, taking a little bit of his time from your Sunday, and so we appreciate that. Doug, and guys, I just want to give this time for questions if there are any. I know we're going to go deeper into building from your strengths at the Success Symposium, but I just want to give a moment for anybody who's got questions that they want to ask about their performance or about how they can 10x their talent to the next level. If you've got any of those questions, please bring them through. Whilst we're waiting for those questions, Doug, maybe you want to share a little bit more about, I know you shared a lot of nuggets with us at Upstate. Maybe you want to share a little bit more as questions are coming through, and then we can enjoy your fantastic teaching.
All right, I got 2 thoughts for you. One thought I'm having is I'm going to flip the question around and say, Uno, what is your nugget that you gained from me, right? You did gain a lot of nuggets, so I'd love to ask you that question just in return to see what's actually hitting, what's actually sinking in. And I guess the same is true for anyone in the comment section that might have been the Mandela Fellow themselves. What was the most powerful moment that you had, or what was the lesson that you learned that I've done well at, so that way I can continue that lesson up. And then the second, but the lesson I will add is one of the leaders that I follow all the time. So while you're thinking of your lessons that you gained from me, one of the leaders that I follow is Simon Sinek.
Right.
I love Simon. I love the Golden Circle. I love all the things that he teaches. I think he's just such a powerful motivational speaker and such a powerful person. But one of his quotes that he says, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to change one word in it, but people don't care what you do; they care why you do it. Okay. So if I say that again, people don't care what you do, they care why you do it. And I think that that's so important. Understanding the heart of someone is more important than understanding what they're doing. So, you know, if you, for example, if you have a car salesman, right? We all get images of what a car salesman looks like, what they're doing, how they're doing it. Are you going to buy a car from a car salesman? No, because you're like, no, I know what that looks like. But what if I tell you that car salesman, they really enjoy, maybe they're like me and they just say, I want to help people. I want to help people have a good car that's reliable, that's not going to break down on them the first time they use it. I want to help people. I want people to come back to me in 20 years because I sold them such a good car the first time around that they're going to use me again the second time around. Now you're going to buy a car from them? Absolutely. Because their motivation is helping people. Let's say it's not that. Let's say it's more self-motivated. Let's say that car salesman is just an auto junkie. They love cars. They love learning about cars. They love being in fast cars. They love things about cars. Now, so that's what they love. So now I say, well, hey, I want to sell you a car, but trust me, because I know cars. I can tell you which car is the fastest. I can tell you which car is the most energy efficient. I can tell you which car is going to do the best for you. Are you going to buy a car from me? Probably much more so than if I'm just a car salesman. So it doesn't matter what the message is behind. The message for me is personal, and the message for you is going to be personal. So whatever the reason you're getting involved in something, use the personal story, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. People don't care about what you do, they care about what, people don't care about what you do, they care about why you do it. And that's the most important lesson.
I feel like saying amen, Pastor Doug. All right. Okay. So there we go. Let's get some questions going there. I think there are two, and I'm just going to read both of them, and you can, while you think of the answers to both of them.
Sure. And did you realize that Uno avoided my question from the beginning, which was, what was his lesson that he got from me? I'm just making sure everybody else saw that too.
No, I just wanted to like show that, you know, I asked you to come so that I could interview you.
Got it.
If you want to interview me at some point, I'm sure you could do that.
The next time around. Got it.
Okay, so here's the first question from Diane. Do you feel most strengths are aspired from their failures? That's the first one. And the second one is, how often do you recommend one to take a strengths test? I believe as humans, we keep evolving, and the me in my 20s might differ significantly to the me in my mid 30s. And that's from Chiedza Makoni. And welcome, Chichi. All right, so you get the two questions, right? The first one is about failures and how they might help people discover their strengths. And the second one, I'm sure you got that, about should I take a strengths test more often?
So to answer the first question, you know, I could be like Batman. I think in Batman they say, "Why do we fall? So we can get back up." And failure is a common thing, but I instead. So here's a little bit about failure, not necessarily about failure, but about strengths in general. So strengths, they only give you your top 5 strengths. There's the camera. They only give you your top 5 strengths. And the reason that they do that is because when you see your top 5, human natures, that what everyone wants to do immediately, and Uno, in your cohort, I think this was asked of me as soon as everyone got their strengths, the first question everyone said was, well, I got my top 5, but what's my bottom 1? They care more about the bottom 1 than they care about the top 5. And everybody does it. Everybody thinks that same way. They always care about, well, what am I bad at? What am I bad at? And again, the whole idea, the concept behind strengths is to say, well, stop worrying about that. Don't worry about what you're bad at. Worry about what you're good at. So yeah, failure does inspire and help your strengths to get stronger, but it's more so in the sense of worry about that the things you're doing well, because inevitably there are things that will be drawn out of that. And the other side of that is, the other part of that coin is, oftentimes your strengths are also your weaknesses, right? And so we call that the dark side, or you can call it, I think they call it attics and basements now. There are good parts about my strengths and there are bad parts about my strengths. For example, one of my strengths, here's an easy one for me. One of my strengths is communication, right? And what communication means is I'm a storyteller by nature. I love grasping onto a story and spinning it and telling the people a story, because I can create a vision for them that they understand exactly what I'm talking about. The colors, the smells, everything is part of that story. Well, here's the dark side of that. The positive side is people are right along with me. The dark side, I have stories that go on forever. And people have to tell me to shut up because I'm still telling that story. I'm doing it right now. So there are weaknesses inevitably within us. The next question you had was, do you recommend taking strengths again? Again, people do evolve and change, but one of the things I love about strengths is that your core strengths are who you are from beginning to the end.
Yeah.
You will modify a little bit. Your number one might become your number three. Your number three might move up to number two. They'll modify a little bit, but the core of who they are will stay the same. You know, you are a different person from your 20s to your 30s. And I found that true when I took Myers-Briggs. I found Myers-Briggs to be different when I did that one. But strengths is a different ball of wax. Strengths is really cool because when you do the strengths stuff, who you are in your 30s will stay the same as who you are in your 40s and 50s. It's just how you think about life changes a little bit. And so, but your strengths are still your strengths. You're still good at certain things. And again, we're not talking about reading and writing and arithmetic and those type of things, those tangible skills. We're talking about, mine was communication, and it's not about me talking. It's about how I develop a story. That's my strength. Or arranging for Uno, and how he develops and how he arranges things is a strength. So my number one strength is maximizer. I try to take things that are good and make them great. I'm not very good at when I take something that's bad and making it good. I just don't see the energy in that. There's not a lot of energy there. But when I see something that's good and we can elevate that to the next level, it's even more fun for me. Yeah. So that's my number one strength. But again, the dark side of that is people sometimes think I'm mean, which you know I'm not mean. But people sometimes think I'm mean because I'm always pushing for that excellence. When we're on a team and we can do something and we can be the best at it there ever was, that's what I enjoy doing.
Thank you very much for that. And now I think I'm more comfortable to actually answer your first question before we ask the last two questions. So the part that I learned from you the most is the exercise that you gave us at the end of the course, where participants had to stand in I think there were some that would stand in the middle, and we were all like sitting and closing our eyes and so forth. And then people would come and touch you if they felt there was something that you had mentioned that they were great at. And I think for many of us who were in your class, that was a part that was so affirming, so touching, but also it gave us a bond that even now as a team, we're still talking to each other. And I think that was a good one. So that you don't say that I don't answer your questions, I thought that I should just put it out there. Now, the last two questions. Doug. First of all, there's a nugget from Diane. She's saying, you know what, I'm not that great at public speaking and speaking to many folks, but I am great at one-on-one. But just hearing you guys speak has inspired her to go. Oh, welcome, Simba the lion. Okay, and has inspired her to start doing videos that she will be posting. We would love to see those videos. Diane, please tag us when you do.
Please, Diane, I'd love to be tagged in those too. That sounds great.
Fantastic. And then Frio has a question. April, please. Okay, so Priya is saying, how can we find someone's strengths without using the Gallup strengths tool? I think that's actually the last question. And April is saying, I could watch the two of you speak every day. I appreciate your sharing your friendship with us. You are each equally inspiring and great. So thank you for that love. Yeah, but Doug, you hear that, right? So how do we, without using these strengths finders and tests, how can we actually discover our strengths still?
So I think Frio, luckily for Frio, does have access to strengths. So he knows all the words, he knows the vocabulary, he was in the class, he knows all the stuff. And there's something that he said about you can just kind of tell when people are good at certain things, right? Like, innately what people are good at. And so sometimes you can kind of, what do they call that? You can kind of paint someone and say, oh, you know, or even there's other tools, right? Strengths, not strengths, but true colors. True colors. There's literally 4 colors, right? There's golds, there's greens, there's blues, and there's what's the
Reds,
last one?
I think.
Reds, yeah, something like that. And you use oranges. That's what it is. Gold, greens, blues, and oranges. And you can tell there are certain people that just shout the color that what represents. You know, blues are those heartfelt people, and golds are those very, you know, strategic and thoughtful people when it comes to strategy and organization. And greens are the people that are just so in their minds, and they're so developed, and they think things through, and they really they love to analyze things and be super analytical, and scientists are kind of greens. And then the oranges are those people that are just bouncing off the walls with energy and have this idea of friendship and doing things in the moment and working with their hands and being really good at stuff. So very simple concepts, right? But throughout the test of time, I mean, Freud put people into 4 groups, and, you know, all these different doctors, Myers-Briggs is really just 4 different things, right? It's four competencies that they put out into 8 areas, or 2 for each area. So everything is developed into 4s for them. And so with all these different things, I think you can sometimes just see what people are innately good at and encourage them. So maybe you don't have the tools. Maybe it's just Frio, you talking to your coworkers and talking to your friends and family and saying, wow, I'm really noticing that you're really good at this. How do I help you develop that more?
Yeah. Well, we've just gotten to the end of the hour, and it's been fantastic hanging out with you, Doug, as always. And I hope that many people that have tuned in and those that are going to tune in a little bit later will definitely enjoy this. This is about your strengths. This is about your development. So please come and watch this. And thank you to everybody who's been on this show live, making sure that we can see you in the comments. And those that haven't commented as well, I know Ellen also is watching right now, and I think she definitely sends her love to both Doug and April. Thank you so much, Doug, for coming through. And thank you for even saying that you're going to come through for the Success Symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Grand Scale Motivation Show. We have been talking about leading from your strengths, and we've got a fantastic brother here telling us about leading from your strengths, and he's going to do that a lot more when we talk about that at the Success Symposium that's happening from the 26th to the 28th. Please do like our page on Grand Scale Motivation, or follow me, Unotila Nyoni, to get more details about that. Starting from tomorrow, we're going to go live on this, and you have to invest and come through and make sure that you are there from the 26th to the 28th. The lineup of speakers that are there is going to be amazing. Friday is going to be about the civic sector leaders, and we've got a panel of speakers, including one of our lecturers who was also at App State. It still is. Jesse is going to be there. And you want to come for it. We on Saturday, it's business leadership and entrepreneurship. So if you are that entrepreneurial person, please do come through. Sunday is even going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to have the public sector society coming through, and that's also going to blow your mind. And we've got speakers all arranged for you to have a good time. So please do come through. Doug, my friend, you've got any parting words for the folks that have been listening today before we close off?
Well, obviously, I just want to show my gratitude and my thanks to you, Uno, for setting this up and for allowing me to be a part of the symposium. I'm super excited for it, and I can't thank you enough for that. But also, I want to share my sincerest, genuine appreciation for all of those in the comments. Especially those that were part of the Mandela Washington Fellows. It does my heart good to see you all in the comments section making comments right now. You all have had such a great impact on me, and again, that idea of us being a team is super important to me. And so when I see Simba being very successful, that makes me happy. You know, when I see Frio being successful, that makes me happy. So the more successful you are, the just more excited I get about life. So thank you all for being a part of this, and thank you all for inviting me here today just to have my few words of wisdom.
Fantastic. You see, this guy is all about developing people. And I'm sure you, if you haven't met him, you definitely want to meet him at the Success Symposium. But also, we have his details, right? We're going to put them on the comment section if you want to contact him and maybe you want to do some work with him and learn more about your strengths. Please feel free to do that as well. But the Success Symposium will be a great place to start to get to know a lot more about him. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. Let's meet the next time we have the Grand Scale Motivation Show.